Hi, this is Mrs. Frost. Hi, Language Arts 7 students. I'm going to share in this video a brief overview of what you have going on in your course this week so that you can have a heads up on what you're going to be working on as well as what we'll be working on in class together. Oops. All right, so a little hack from a student from last year. She posted a sign on her door to the room she worked in when she was in class or writing or focused in one of her lessons, and it just made people that were coming by pause before they entered the room so that maybe you could keep your role if you have a good role going in your classwork. All right, so our motto this week is empathy is seeing with the eyes of another, listening with the ears of another, and feeling with the heart of another. And this is important because this is what writers do. They see through the eyes of another, etc. It's also important as we're starting our discussion posts in class. And then our progress for the week in history and science, you should be at 5% by the end of the week. All right, quick update on this discussion post. Everybody had a discussion post that was due last Friday. You'll know that yours was was completed on time if you see it graded. All that were handed in, even up till Saturday, are graded. And if you have one of these red symbols when you open up your course, you click on it and you'll see what's overdue. And this would pertain to math too, but in this case it would say that discussion post. All right, cool. And if you're wondering what a good discussion post looks like, look at the sample in the class, read some of your classmates, as well as watch last week's recording. All right, here's what we have going on in the course this week. On Monday, today, we're going to be finishing Chura and Marwe, and then on Tuesday is a quiz on Chura and Marwe, as well as the vocab strategy and the antonyms and synonyms lesson that were inside the Chura and Marwe story. On Wednesday, we're going to start a story with a theme of perseverance, and it's called Tiger's Whiskers. The grammar, usage, and mechanics that are in that lesson are going to be adjectives and adverbs, and conjunctions and interjections. Make sure you read through all the slides so you don't miss anything. And also, that Wednesday, the 1.03, will introduce what's due on Thursday, which is your portfolio assignment. Wednesday we'll go over how to set goals and SMART goals that are attainable, and then on Thursday you have a assignment due, which are your goals for this course for your portfolio. Followed by Friday, you'll have a assignment due, and the assignment is going to come up in a moment in a picture, but the assignment 1.03 are 3 questions about Tiger's Whiskers and the characters in that story. All right, I'm going to briefly go over, as you're working through this course, you should be keeping a binder. Here's what mine looks like. Let me get my camera back on. Mine looks like this, and I just made a simple cover for my binder, and then I have some tabbed sides for the different categories. All right, I'm going to turn this off. Here we go. So what do you need a binder for? Well, in an example of the Heart Steep Core, each unit has a checklist, and you can print off that checklist. Or if you're trying to save ink or paper, or printer paper, then you could write down the checklist to keep track of what you're doing in that unit. All right, the next thing, each story, Chura and Marwe, as well as Tiger's Whiskers, and all of them will have a graphic organizer. You can print off the graphic organizer and write right on it, or you can look at it and view it on the computer and then handwrite in your answers as you go. Also, there is a vocabulary list that you can print off for each of the stories or for each unit, and you can print that off or you can handwrite that in. On Chura and Marwe, the strategy they wanted you to do was take 5 of the words and find their cognates, antonyms, and synonyms. And in this example, I just wrote them down on a piece of paper instead of printing out that chart 5 times. Notice also these tabs to keep the separate sections of the course separate. They're just regular old sticky notes. You could also use a piece of tape with some writing on it, whatever works for you. And then finally, a grammar section would be important because you can keep track of all the grammar that you've studied throughout the year and the lessons that go with it from the online school. From the LMS, sorry. All right, so a little hack here is in the Heart's-Deep Core on Monday we're going to be finishing Chura and Marway, and then on Tuesday there is a quiz, and the quiz also includes the antonyms and synonyms from the 1.01 as well as the vocab strategy. Here's a course hack. Ready? You want to be hacked into this course? Being successful in this course is not a secret. One thing that you can do is remember that every time there's a quiz, the lesson before the quiz, the last 2 slides will have review for the quiz. So make sure, if you're uncertain, that you review before you take the quiz. All right, next in this lesson, there is Perseverance Pays Off. It's a story that takes place in Korea, and it's about perseverance, and this is the story of Tiger's Whiskers. You can see the tiger there, and then it flows into the 25 screens that you read as you go through this lesson. So I'm showing you at the bottom here that this lesson 1.02 has 25 screens to read through. Several times during these screens you'll be downloading materials for the documents. In this case, for the portfolio, it's going to look like this, right? And you'll turn this in to me as an assignment on Thursday. Now, it's never a secret how I'm going to grade anything. There's always a rubric provided too, and the rubric will tell you how you will be graded on this assignment so that you can know if you're turning in high quality work or exemplary work or not. All right, next, on slide 13 in this lesson, you'll see a link to open up the textbook, which we call the anthology. You'll also see that graphic organizer that you should be putting into your, let me get my binder open here, that you should be putting into your language arts binder. Okay? That you should be copying into your binder or printing and filling out in your binder. All right, and then materials in the story are found throughout. Materials for the stories are found throughout the lessons, so remember not to skip any slides. Gum is embedded in the lessons, so this lesson on adjectives and adverbs, and then later on interjections and conjunctions, are embedded in there. So make sure you go through everything very carefully and don't skip the grammar, usage, and mechanics portions. Finally, we end our week Friday with a reading journal assignment. The reading journal assignment is a document that you download from the course, fill out, and then submit through the course Dropbox for me. And it's 3 questions, and I'll share some samples in class on Tiger's Whiskers. Again, there's a rubric. No guessing at how you're going to do on this. Review the rubric before you submit your assignment. All right, thank you for your time. This is our week at a glance. See you in class.